Welcome to my tutorial for Image Fight for the NES. This is not a great shooter for the NES, but, it's at least playable. I mean, most of it is pretty easy to moderate. At least I found, playing through a lot of shooters. But the final checkpoint on both loops is extremely difficult if you don't have your power-ups, especially if you don't have homing missiles. So that's going to be the main challenge of the game, at least for me. That's why it took me about 5.5 hours to beat, maybe 5 hours and 35 minutes. For this tutorial, I cut it down to one loop, so I'm only going to show the second loop of the game. After you beat the game the first time, it loops and forces you to beat the entire game again. It's one of those bullshitty kind of games. It also has penalty stages. If you don't shoot down enough ships within the first 5 stages, you get penalized, and at the end of the 5th stage, you'll get a penalty stage, which in the arcade version is extremely, extremely fucking difficult. In this version, I don't know because I avoided getting the penalty stage. I recommend not getting the penalty stage. So you just want to try to shoot down as many ships as you can in each stage. I didn't even shoot down all the ships, and I would get 100% at the end of the stages, so you don't have to kill everything, but you want to try to shoot everything that you can. That's what I recommend doing. So this tutorial is going to start on the second loop, just to cut out all the bullshit, and get to the point, because you don't need to watch me play the game twice. The second loop is harder, though. It's a little bit faster, but I didn't notice a difference until I got to maybe the final stage again for the second time. So this is probably the only game that I've ever used a slow motion switch for on the I'm using a Super Nintendo controller, the ASCII pad. It has turbo and slow motion switches on it because I'm playing on an emulator, and I used the slow motion switch, which I think it's the first time I've ever used it to beat a part in a game. I didn't even think that feature would be useful. I've never used it before. I also try to avoid using things like pausing the game or slow motion, things like that. But I actually ended up using it on the final checkpoints of this game because it was just so fucking ridiculous without the power-ups. The control really... Something about the control, I end up hitting into walls so easily, which I don't. In other shooters, I'm able to make much tighter maneuvers, but I don't know what it was about this game. It was giving me a lot of trouble. Even in slow motion, it was extremely difficult to beat those final checkpoints. And you're going to see the final checkpoint in this playthrough. You'll see one of them. I'm also going to show the final boss in real time, even though in my actual playthrough, I kept the slow motion on and even used it on the final boss. You have to decide whether or not you consider that cheating. It's kind of a gray area. I mean, for me, it's barely passing because, speedrunners do use pause buffering, which is basically what it is. And, of course, it's a switch, so it's a little different. But, the first-party Nintendo controllers, the NES Advantage that Nintendo put out, had a slow-motion function on it, I believe. So it was officially released for the system, just like the TurboGrafx 16 had turbo fire switches on the actual controllers that came with the system. So, you can take things into account like that, but ultimately you decide if you want to play it like that. Either way, I think watching me play it in slow motion will give you an idea of the kind of movement you're going to have to do in real time. So, either way, I think it will be useful. I debated whether I should even make a tutorial, because I didn't really like playing the game, in slow motion towards the end. It was not something I would normally do, so I did debate, but I did have some footage of when I practiced the boss in real time and beat it. So at least for the boss, it'll show that. I only use slow motion on the last half of the last level, so, other than that, I play the game normally. So in this game, you have 4 different speeds that you can move around at. I always keep it at the second speed, but it's up to you how twitchy it feels for you. By pressing A, you can switch your speed. And also by pressing A, you can throw out these pods that you have on the side of your vehicle. You have these little pods, you see them firing on the side of my vehicle, 3 of them. You can throw them out at enemies, which I never used. Because whenever I would try to do that, I would press A to do that, and it would switch my speed too. So I don't know. I'm not sure if you have to hold it to get a different effect or what, because whenever I tried to do it, it would switch my speed or it would throw out the weapon. It was just too inconsistent. I didn't understand the controls on that. This game is kind of, sloppy in a lot of ways. I mean, you can tell if you listen to the music in my full 1 hour run of the game, which shows both loops, You can hear how bad the music is, except for the final stage, which actually has really good music, but the game just feels like a kind of a sloppy fucking game. But, it plays okay at times, but it gets kind of, I don't know, it just felt way off to me when I got to the last stage. Maybe I was just, playing fucking bad, but I'm used to some pretty dense fucking bullet type of games, and this one was giving me a lot of trouble on the final stage. Now, if I would have kept my homing missile power up for the final stage, I think it would have been a pretty easy stage aside from the boss, which I would have needed to practice. But, the pods on the side of your ship, if they are the orange ones, they will shoot in different directions depending on how you move around. You'll see that they move around as you move around. Now, if you get the blue pods, those stay fixed and always shoot straight up. So that's the difference in the different pods. The actual power-ups that attach to the top of your ship are kind of strange. They seem to let you take an extra hit if you get hit on the top of your ship. But if you get hit anywhere else, I think you die anyway. And the power-ups on the top of your ship give you various different things. Like this one's decent for this level. It gives you these diagonal firing shots that you can use to take out these ships. Which is pretty good for this because you want to try to shoot everything down to get that 100% rating at the end of the level. So I think that's a pretty good choice. I got 100% on most of the levels, aside from maybe the semi-final. The last level, it doesn't matter by that point. It only penalizes you for your performance in the first 5 levels of the game. So, and it does that for the second loop as well, because you got to start the whole. It's an 8-stage game. You have to start all 8 stages over after you beat the game, and hopefully you avoided the penalty stages by shooting enough things down. This is another very easy boss. I didn't really have to explain the other ones either, because they're all very easy, except for the final boss. But you basically just want to stay out of the way of it and just keep shooting at it and just keep your distance. It's very easy. I'll start to explain some of the bosses in more detail now. I think I got most of the basics out of the way, so yeah. Basically, like, a lot of this is pretty damn easy without a lot of enemies and shit like that. I mean, some of the stages, it's like bullets tend to appear out of nowhere, it feels like sometimes. It's kind of weird. I don't know if it was just me, but the game did throw me off at times. I died a lot more in this game than I should have. Because normally I don't have a problem with these types of bullet patterns. I mean, there's not a lot of bullets on screen. There is quite a bit of bullets on screen, I mean, when you get towards the end, but it's not that dense compared to a lot of the games that I've played, so I don't know why this game gave me more trouble. But, like I said, it took pretty long. It took like 5 hours and 25 minutes. And it was because of those final checkpoints. I got held up on those for a long time. And the rest of the game I found pretty easy to moderate. I didn't really have a problem. So yeah, just try to take out as many of these things as you can. But like I said, if you miss a few, it's not really going to matter. Because, I mean, I missed some of these guns and things, and I still got 100% on a lot of these levels. So you should still be able to pass at the end of the 5 levels. Now, if you do end up getting the penalty stage, you can try playing it and see how it is on the NES version. It may not be as difficult, but it's a good reason also to reset the game and start over, because I think it's easier just to try to shoot everything down, since the levels are pretty damn easy, than trying to do the penalty stage. I mean, if you had trouble shooting everything down on the regular stages, then you're probably going to have a lot of trouble on the penalty stage, because it's pretty easy to do. So it's probably going to be easier to start the game over and just, if you want to play this pretty shitty game. It's really not that good. There's an arcade version which plays a lot better, but it has the same bullshit penalties and forces you to play the game twice. I got to the penalty stage in the arcade version, and it gives you no power-ups, and it was just fucking ridiculous. I shut the game off because I didn't realize it was going to penalize me for not shooting down ships. That kind of pissed me off. I don't really like those kind of surprises, but, arcade games will do that. This game tries to carry over that tradition, but like I said, it's a much easier game aside from the final checkpoints. So just shoot these rocks down and stay at the bottom of the screen so you have enough room. Now, on this second loop, I think I beat the first 3 or 4 stages without a single death, so it was easy when I got to it again. So yeah, just fit yourself between these 2 orbiting things here, and make sure your side pod is touching the boss so it grinds him to death. That's how I kill this boss. Much easier than trying to dodge all those lasers. I also do something similar on the final boss, but it's a little bit more complicated, so I'll explain it. But you can do that on a number of the bosses I found. You can just grind them to death with the perfect positioning of the pod. And it's really not that hard to do. But practice this stuff with save and load states to make sure you have it down. Always practice with save and load states on bosses and difficult sections. That's what I recommend doing. I do that to bang games out pretty quickly. I use save and load state practice heavily, check videos, all that shit. So I think it's all useful. Hopefully you can gain some useful tactics from this video. So yeah, if you're powered up, this part is not going to be difficult at all. If you're not powered up, you're just going to have to take it slower and try to kill what you can. You're going to miss some enemies if you don't have power-ups, and it's okay because if you did well in the other levels, your percentages should be good enough to where you'll be able to pass. I mean, I didn't kill everything on this level either, so, and I passed in the end, so you should be okay, but I would say try to kill what you can. If you don't have the pods that shoot to the other side, that you can manipulate the direction they fire, it's going to be tough because you're not going to be able to break through that wall of bullshit that you have to shoot through. So there is bullshit like that. It is kind of cheap if you don't have the right weapon. I had the right weapon. I just fucked up. The way I edited this was, for this tutorial, I'm showing only the second loop of the game, which shows all 8 stages, but it's the harder loop. There's no sense in showing the easier loop because all the same tactics will apply. So I didn't show that. But what else I also did was I show the first death in every new area. So that was probably the first time that I died so far in the second loop. I was actually getting pretty far without dying because I kept my power-ups and I knew the game a bit. But I will show the first death in every new area, new checkpoint. Because it makes the editing transitions very odd if I don't edit it that way. So yeah, here, grab the mid. You want to grab the middle power-up. The lasers, that's the best one to have. If you grab one of the ones that you don't want, because you may have to grab one you don't need to get, because to get to the middle, you have to get rid of one of the other ones and grab it. So what you do is you grab one and then you crash it into the barrier to get rid of it. Like touch the front of your ship into the barrier and break it off. And then grab the laser one, because you want the laser for this. So stay at the very bottom of the screen, and you're mostly going to be making slight left and right movements. You don't really want to go up and down if you can avoid it. You may do it a little bit, but you should mostly be moving left and right to dodge the missiles, and just try to aim all your lasers and fire up at the boss. Also, if you have the pods that fire in all different directions, what you want to do with that is make sure you're holding down on the controller to make sure that all the pods will continually fire up. Because whenever you press down on going downward, your pods will fire up if they're the kind that move with you. If they're the fixed pods, you don't have to worry about that because they always fire up. See, I have one pod that rotates around as I move. It's the orange one, or pink or whatever. You can also swap those out by grabbing. If you grab another pod, sometimes you can swap for another one. It seems, but it's kind of weird how that works. Honestly, I never want to have the blue pods, but I don't always have a choice because that's what I ended up grabbing. But you can try to time it so that you grab the orange ones while they're changing colors. See, now I have all orange pods, which is what I want. You may have to fuck around with that a little bit to get it right, to get what you want. This level is it's very easy if you come in here powered up from the previous area. So try not to fuck up, because if you do fuck up, you'll have a little bit of a harder time dealing with some of this stuff without your starting power-ups. But it's not that bad either way. But it is one of the harder areas so far, probably. But it's really not that hard. The boss of this level can be a little tricky. But yeah, you want to try to take these things out by grinding your pods into them or shooting them, because you can't shoot them from the bottom because they have shields. So you got to kill them from the sides. Or if you can, you could try to, get above them and grind them with the bottom pod, but you don't need to do that really. The centipedes are very easy especially if you have, a few pods. You can just let them, drive into your fire and die. They only take damage at the head. And there's a checkpoint. There's one checkpoint in each stage, so you'll most likely at least get to the checkpoint. So yeah, this boss is a little bit tricky. With this boss, you have to basically drive inside of it and shoot down at the core. You're going to see me die here because I really don't have good pods to do this. I mean, you could use the bottom pod in the middle and try to grind the boss with it. I guess you could probably do that and beat it. But it's not ideal because the boss is constantly moving up, down, left, right. You know, slowly, but it's kind of hard to keep pace with it with the bad control. So, it's going to be hard if you only have these blue pods on the side of your ship. You want to try to get the orange ones for this. But the idea is going to be to get inside that opening, and it's better to get in there when those little balls leave the opening. If you wait long enough, the balls will leave. A lot of times you can get it to where both balls will leave out of that opening. And you don't want them to be in there. I mean, if there's one in there, you may want to go in there and deal with it. I mean, that's what I often did. But if there's two of them in there, I would probably avoid going in there because the control's not really that tight. And it's going to be a lot harder to try to survive in there with two of those things moving around. So yeah, this is where the checkpoint starts you. You can't kill these things initially because they have shields on the bottom. So just try to, dodge them the best you can. It's a little tricky. If you have one of those pods that shoots in different directions, use that, rotate that around and take those out. And take these things out as soon as they appear so that they don't throw too much shit at you on screen. But yeah, these parts are pretty easy overall. The boss is the main part that's a little tricky. Not too bad. After you beat this stage, there's no more penalty phase or anything like that, so it doesn't matter how many ships you shoot down once you beat this. But by this point, this is going to be your second loop of the game, so you'll already be familiar with how that works. So yeah, for this, like I said, you're just going to want to wait for an opening. I like to wait until those things leave out of that area. So, I'll go in there if there's maybe one in there. But if there's two of them floating around in there, I usually avoid it. There's no timer in this game, so you can wait as long as you want for an opening. So yeah, I was shooting down at it, but it wasn't really safe to go in there, so I just waited out. You want to be patient sometimes. You can't kill those balls, so. But if you shoot them, they do stop in place, and you can do the same thing with your little side pods. You can stop them in place by grinding up against them, so. That is something you can use to keep them from hitting into you. But yeah, that's basically what you want to do. You got to get in there and just shoot down at it. Hopefully you have the pods that shoot down. That's what you want to get. Like I said, if you don't have that, then you're going to have to try to grind the bottom pod on it as it's moving, and it's going to be harder to do. So yeah, here I passed. See, those were my percentages, and I passed. I had a bad percentage on that stage 4, but it didn't really matter. If you do good enough on the other stages, it doesn't seem to matter. I passed on my first time in this game, on both loops, so I didn't have a problem passing those. It was much easier than the arcade version. Though in the arcade version, I wasn't trying to shoot down all the ships either, because I didn't realize that the game was going to penalize me like that. So now there's only 3 stages left. And here it doesn't matter how many ships you shoot down, you just have to survive. So you don't have to worry about trying to kill everything. I'm going to try to take down enemies as soon as they appear if you can, so they don't have time to fire out their attacks, obviously. As you would do in a lot of these types of games. If an enemy's not causing you any trouble, you can, leave it alone and just ignore it. Yeah, I like the second speed, as I've been saying, because I find it to be less twitchy, because the game just doesn't have good control. When I put the speed up, it's even easier to crash into shit for me, so... There's something about this game, it just, I end up crashing into shit a lot more often than I expect. It's hard for me to figure out exactly why that is, but the game did give me a lot more trouble than it should have. I mean, because I've played so many shooters that are way fucking harder than this. I mean, a lot more shit on screen, and, you know, I navigate it pretty easily a lot of times. I'm used to these kind of games, but, I mean, this game just feels kind of sloppy. It's playable, though. I mean, but it's kind of shitty in some ways. So, yeah, for this part coming up, you're going to want to take the right path. They try to tempt you with 3 power-ups, but it's just a trap. It's a little, you know, this game likes to troll you in various ways. So that's one of them. They want you to, at least they give you a checkpoint in this area, so you won't be sent too far back if you do crash, but just take the right path. The left path is just a dead end. See, they offer you those little power-ups and shit, try to tempt you to go in there. And then they just cut it off and make you crash. So for this boss, I didn't do anything cheap. You know, this boss is pretty straightforward. The focus on this boss is you want to attack the enemy on the right side, the right wall. So these things floating around are going to keep shooting missiles at you. I don't know if you can destroy them. I never tried to destroy them. But you want to focus on the thing moving up and down on the right wall. And you'll see it change colors, and when it gets to red, it's almost dead. That's how you know when the bosses are almost dead. They change to red, like a lot of old games. All you got to do is focus on that side thing. You can even grind it with your pods if you have the... I've done that before. If you have like the room to do it, you can do that, but you got to be careful. Yeah, so now this is the semi-final stage. Just got some rocks coming down. Nothing hard to start out with. Like I said, it really doesn't get that difficult for a shooter like this until you get to that one fucking checkpoint. I mean, for me anyway, it gave me a lot of trouble. I probably spent hours on that between the 2 loops. You know, otherwise I would have beaten this game a lot faster. I mean, I should have kept my power-up, but I fucked it up. I didn't have great power-ups going into the last stage either. Like, you really want to have if you can keep this homing missile power-up, bring it to the final stage and get to the last boss with this, you're going to have a much better chance. But, of course, if you haven't practiced the last boss, you're probably going to die anyway, because the last boss, it's very difficult if you don't know how to play it. It's not, you know, immediately obvious, because there's bullshit in the final boss fight where you get sucked in by these things and it slows down your control, and there's a bunch of bullshit everywhere. So you do have to be, I think you have to be familiar with it to have a good chance at beating it, even with the power-ups. But most likely your first time playing, you're not going to beat the final boss on your first try, so you're likely going to have to do those checkpoints without the power-up. So you're probably going to be in the same predicament that I was in, at least on the first loop, until you know what's going on. On the second loop, the final boss seemed to be exactly the same. I mean, it was still hard, but it was like the same speed. I didn't notice it faster, but I was playing it in slow motion mainly. I did also play it in real time, though, as I posted up. So I did experience it that way as well and beat it. But it seemed the same speed to me. The level was faster, though the bullets get fired out faster. And it gave me a lot more trouble even with slow motion activated. If you don't have a controller that has slow motion, then it may be a feature in some emulators, but I'm not sure. I've never really used the feature. Your other option is going to be to use pause buffering, where you just pause the game and you think about your next move, because it shows the bullets on screen when you pause the game. So you can pause the game, look at the screen, and just try to play it almost like a strategy game. And there's a lot of players that will do stuff like that, even in speedruns of ridiculous games. But you can pause it. You can just pause the game rapidly, but you have to do it manually if you don't have a slow motion button. You're going to have to manually pause. So yeah, for this, I use the bottom pod, and I just grind it like that. You could also fire down if you have a pod that fires down. I guess you could do that, but I think it's best to try to grind it with the bottom pod. It kills it pretty fast. So that's it for that. But yeah, for this, what I'm going to recommend is if you don't have slow motion, or if you don't want to use the slow motion feature, Or if you don't even want to pause the game because you feel like that's cheating, then what I recommend doing is when you watch me playing in slow motion, try to understand the patterns, and I'm going to try to explain how the bullet patterns work. And you can kind of get a slow motion demonstration of how the bullets move. And you may actually be able to I was able to actually, when I played in real time, I was able to utilize that strategy in real time. I just didn't try to play through it, the whole thing without slow motion, because there's one part that's very narrow and very difficult with very little room to move. And I really didn't feel like doing that in real time. But you can analyze the way I'm moving and use that for a real-time playthrough. It's probably kind of good for a demonstration because you're seeing everything happen slowly, and you can you just have to, when you execute it, you're going to have to do all that shit a lot faster, obviously. So here I'm still using the real speed of the game. Now I'm using slow motion. Yeah, usually I would use slow motion farther into the area, but actually, see, I died there and lost my power. I was using slow motion to be extra careful because I didn't want to lose my power-ups for the boss, but I fucked it up really early on, which was that was sloppy. But I didn't have a good power-up anyway. I didn't have the one I wanted, which would have been the homing missiles. The homing missiles probably would have took out all those turrets on the side, made the level extremely easy. So now you'll see me playing this in real speed until I get to the top of the screen. You'll see me going to slow motion when I get up at the top of the screen. This is real time. This part's really not bad. But then when you get up here, you go into a very narrow space. So the idea with this is if you're doing it in real time or if you're using slow motion, either way you're going to use a similar tactic most likely. What you want to do is wait at the bottom of the screen for a cluster of bullets to fire towards you. And then after several of the guns fire their bullets, you want to start moving up to the next area immediately and then wait in the upper area, wait for another cluster of bullets to fire, then move back down again. And you want to keep doing that, up, down, waiting for each cluster of bullets and then moving. I mean, that's the best way I can explain it, and it's not a perfect technique, but it's one that worked for me. I could have executed that in real time had I played enough, but that would be that's basically the strategy that I have for that. And it's not really easy to explain, but there's a feel to it. You want to wait for those clusters of bullets to fire, even though they do fire at different times from different turrets. There is somewhat of a cluster that will fire towards you, a grouping of bullets that will fire towards you. The area that you last, stayed at will get fired upon. So you want to move out of that area after the turrets have all fired their little bullet at your last position. You want to move to your next position, which should be either up or down, depending on where you were resting at. So, I mean, hopefully that clarifies a bit, but you're going to have to practice that. And I would recommend using slow motion if you have it available, but that's going to be up to you if you consider it legit or not. But you can use these strategies, and you'll see a slow breakdown of the area at least, which you wouldn't see in another tutorial. So it may be kind of useful to analyze that. Now, for this boss, I get up at the very top, move to the left, and grind him. I grind down the side of the boss. And then I get in the middle, dodge the swarm of bullets in the middle, go back up to the right, or the left side of the boss, grind the left side, then go back down again, etc. You'll see, you're going to have to watch that, because I didn't play that in slow motion. That was in real time. And it's a little tricky to pull off, but I'll try to explain it one more time. When you first get to the last boss, you want to go up to the top of the screen, and basically you want to move straight to the left so that your pod is touching the boss and grinding it and damaging it. As you're doing that, you want to slowly move down the side of the boss while damaging it with the pod. Then when you get to below the boss where it fires, you want to dodge its grouping of fire and immediately move back up to the left side of the boss, grind down the side of that boss, the boss again. You want to do that grinding technique again, and then start firing up at it. And by the time you fire up at it for that second time, it should be enough to kill it. It's kind of hard to explain, though. You're going to probably want to watch the video to see exactly how I did it and analyze that a little bit, because it is hard to explain in the amount of time that the video is playing, But if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.